Okay, let's do it. Good evening. We're going to go ahead and welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. And those that are watching us via television, we appreciate you joining us for the San Bernardino International Airport meeting. And wrong agenda. So I would like to call our meeting to order and do a roll call.
Thank you, Mayor. If you can please state your name for the record. Member from the City of Colton.
Frank Navarro.
Thank you. Member from the City of Highland.
Penny Lilburn.
Member from the County of San Bernardino 5th District.
Baca Jr. present.
And members from the City of San Bernardino.
Theodore Sanchez here.
Kim Canas here.
Thank you. And I'd like to state for the record that Councilmember Echevarria, as well as Mayor Pro Tem McAllen, are in the audience.
Thank you. Item B is closed session public comment. And Jillian, do we have any public comment on that?
No, we do not.
Great. And at this time, we're going to go ahead and recess to closed session. All right, we'll reconvene and do a report on closed session. Look to our attorney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As to both items in closed session, there was no reportable action taken. Direction was given.
Thank you very much. So we will go back and call our business session to open session to order. And I've asked Joe Baca Jr., our supervisor, to lead us in the pledge. Thank you very much. Any items to be added or deleted from the agenda?
No items, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Conflict of interest. I believe we only had one name or business. I hear anyone have any conflict of interest to disclose, this is the time to do it. Hearing none, we'll move on to informational items, and we'll look to Mike Burrows to give us his CEO report.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm actually going to start with Mr. Huber. Many of your organizations may have heard about a recent state law that has been signed by the governor. It's called SB 707. And I wanted Mr. Huber, who has worked extensively with Jillian on analyzing what impacts we may or may not have related to this new legislation and the new law that becomes here shortly. So, Mr. Huber, what happens to us?
So I'm gonna, you all will experience different requirements at the county or at the cities that you represent versus what will happen here at SBIAA. SBIAA is actually one of the agencies that is not included in many of the requirements because of the size of the agency. It would need to have over $400 million of annual revenue to have to comply with this, or have more than 1,000 employees, or 200 employees and some revenue or some population number. We don't meet any of the criteria, but what I want to highlight for you is it makes changes to it keeps largely intact the traditional Brown Act meeting notices and requirements for if someone is going to be, traveling but they want to participate. They keep the posting requirements and all of that. Under the pandemic regulations that came in that expanded the ability for elected officials to participate remotely, there were two really threshold reasons why you could do that. One is just cause, and the other one is an emergency circumstance. They have now merged those together. An emergency circumstance counts as a just cause, and because one had 3 per year, the other one had 2 per year, they've eliminated that, and they've put them all together under one umbrella. So whether you have an emergency reason or just cause, it is all the same now. It's just cause. The other thing that I do want to highlight for you, there are some social media regulations that are applicable to you as elected officials. And my understanding from the rumor mill that I hear about the FPPC, and again, I will share this as strictly rumors, so your mileage may vary, you may understand something different. They have prevented in this legislation if a member of an agency, an elected official, posts something that's under the subject matter jurisdiction of that agency, and another member comments on it, that's a Brown Act violation. Now, where I hear the rumor mill is the FPPC allegedly counts clicking like as a comment. And so what I would say is be very careful. If you see another council member or supervisor or an elected official post something that's within the subject matter jurisdiction of your agency or this agency, either one, don't click on like, don't make a sub comment to it, don't respond to some criticism. other than to say, you can post something like, I'd be happy to meet with you to talk about this. Because then you aren't saying, I approve of this, I disapprove of this, I'm in favor of it, I'm not in favor of it. If someone makes a complaint, you can say, I'd be more than happy to meet with you. And that's pretty much it on social media. Social media is really the next big area where the FPPC is going to focus on their regulations.
It doesn't have to be a majority of the board.
It does not have
to be a violation.
It does not have to be.
Because you're concurring.
That's correct. And I'll quote the language for you. It says that members are prohibited from commenting on another member's social media post. And so that word prohibited means you can't do it even as a one-off. There is no majority issue there. And I think the reason why is and again, I'm thinking, okay, what was the logic behind doing that? If, let's take this body, for example, if 3 of you were to post on something, or let's call it a quorum, if 3 of you, a quorum is 4. So if 2 of you were to post on something, but 2 others of you were to read it and agree with it, you now know how a majority of the commission feels. And same with a city. If you have a 5-member, council, if one person posts and another person responds, you may be number 3 and say, hey, I agree with them. That conversation has to happen in public. And so I think that's why they have prohibited even the one-off comment, even if it's less than a majority. Now, what will the fines be for that? I don't know. I mean, that's, what will the FPPC do? It goes into effect in for most agencies, January of 2026. For others, it's, I believe, June of 2026. And it depends on what type of agency you fall under, but for my understanding is for cities and counties, it's January 1, I believe. Let me double check that.
So I think, Jillian, our read of it is, for us, it would be June.
Correct, and echoing what Scott said, we are not considered an eligible legislative body under the parameters that's outlined in SB 707. So we do not fall under any category for special district. So we are outside of those boundaries for teleconferencing and other various items within 707. But the items Scott mentioned, we do have to comply with.
Very good. Thank you very much, Scott, for briefing us on that.
And then what we've asked Scott to do for everybody, for you particularly, and all of the staff, is draft up a write-up for a future agenda that goes through the details, so you don't have to go searching. Being that you're on an appointed board here, we want to give you a cheat sheet to be able to say, okay, these are the things I want to keep an eye out on.
Okay.
So
thank you so much, and thanks for keeping us in the loop and keeping us out of trouble, more importantly.
Happy to help. And again, I do want to just emphasize, you will have different requirements for the cities or for the county, because those are automatically included as long as you have more than 30,000 residents. I think it's 30,000 is the number. It's pretty minimal. But so you will have different requirements there versus here.
Thank you. Mike, did you have some more
yeah, I sure do.
Okay.
We'll move through these pretty quick. So the next one, again, we are on the tail end of yet another Cruising at Altitude community concert. There's a little view of it from the air. This year we finally leaned on our local UAS Center resources for some really cool footage that we'll be chopping up in a video that we'll bring back to you guys to kind of do a real recap of it. But extremely good response and good attendance. Mark, give us kind of the feedback from the marketing side.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Like Mike said, this last weekend was our Cruising at Altitude concert in celebration of 3 years of Breeze Airways service at SBD, and they, in fact, sent down representatives to join in the festivities, and they had an absolute great time at your airport. In fact, they joined some of our commission members out on the wing and throwing how do I say, inflatable airplanes out to the crowd, which are a huge hit. Kids love them, old people, young people love them. It's a great time. But we had great attendance. Actually had to stop selling tickets, which is the first time that's happened for us. But really the intent of the show is to introduce SBD to the broader community. Not everyone has taken a Breeze flight, even though they should, out of SBD. But they also may not be familiar with the airport. This is a great new touch point for them. So they're able to, join in a free public concert and get to experience it firsthand with their family, with their friends, have a great time on a lovely evening, and enjoy good food and good people. So we're pleased to do it. We're pleased to see so many commission members come out and join in the festivities. It's something we're proud of, and it's our way of giving back to the community. So like Mike said, one last thing is we got some great footage from the air this year. This is just one of many great videos that will help promote this message throughout the year. So back to you, Mike.
So the last little edit on it too is we'll do a little recap video to present to you guys after they can, do their marketing magic. Other huge thank you to our sponsors. Enormous response from our partners and our businesses and our tenants. I'll call one out, AeroPro. Just fantastic job. They painted the plane stage. They helped us, cite vendors to do the sponsor logos. It was a full-on effort and a record-setting year for sponsorship support. So that's Cruising at Altitude 25.
You guys did a remarkable job on the whole show. It was stunning. It was nice. Is that footage from the drone, or was that from? Okay.
Yeah, it's all drone stuff that you'll see. If anything in the air, it's a drone. All carefully coordinated, as we do at the UAS Center at SBD.
AeroPro did a great job on the plane. They really did. So good job. Thank you guys for doing such a great job.
Team effort. I mean, I think, Kat, we had every waking body available and able and moving and around and doing their part. So fun time. And then we, got a good workout, John, tearing it all down, getting ready for your Breeze flight on Sunday. But again, thanks for your support and allow us to do cool stuff like this. I'll end on a really positive note. The government shutdown. It's still shut down, in case you didn't know, in DC. But as airports go, we have fared, a lot better than many others, knock on wood. Our tower staff are showing up for work. They're doing what they got to do every day. TSA's on the job doing their thing, and our custom staff are in their facility, clearing fights and doing what they do. We are very, very closely monitoring this throughout the airport community, throughout all of our trade associations, both statewide and internationally. And as we get more info as it impacts your airport, you'll hear more updates from me. On the international trade front, I'll send more information on this, but Miriam and I had some great follow-up with our Port of Long Beach partners on our foreign trade zone. And we are going to be hosting a foreign trade zone event for the Port of Long Beach here on December 11th coming up. So I'll try to get invites out, get that on your calendars if you're able to make it. We should have some good response here from the Inland Empire community on that on the trade side. So with that concludes our reports.
Perfect. Thank you again. Okay, we'll move on to our commission consent items 3 through 6. We have a motion from Baca.
Second.
And a second from Sanchez. Roll call.
Thank you. We have a motion by Member Baca and a second by Member Sanchez. Please state your votes for the record. Member Lilburn?
Yes.
Member Baca?
Baca Jr.
Member Sanchez?
Yes.
Member Navarro?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
And Member Knaus?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commission action item 6, the approve the form of an early termination of a lease agreement with ASA. Mike?
Yes, this one is truly bittersweet for me, but and a whole lot of us here at SBD. We got a request from ASA LLC, otherwise known as the wonderful, world-famous Judy Scholl, that she would be vacating her hangar early in her lease term. And That came as a bit of a surprise. We really worked for many, many years as the Rialto Municipal Airport was announced for closure to aggregate as many of the general aviation tenants to San Bernardino, because we weren't at that time very well known in the general aviation community because we didn't have this type of hangar product. We wanted it, but we had to have a mechanism and a vehicle to get there and obviously people to occupy them. Judy, I will say on a personal level, became our ambassador. And I think she still is to this day. But she has returned to her native Canada, is doing well. We've had several discussions with her, and just had to go home. So she does want to say a big thanks to you all for being able to make sure that we were able to accommodate a really unique development project specific to her hangar. She was very unique in that she took the proceeds, her relocation proceeds from the closure of Rialto, and prepaid for the construction of her very, very beautiful hangar. And so what I've discussed with her is an early termination that then recognizes that contribution. There is a residual amount because she was also really good to us on the budget, right, Jeff? Didn't ask for a whole lot of specialty stuff and was really concerned about, pricing and all that, and making sure that, she didn't go too over the top, even though it was gorgeous inside and still is. So there's about a $42,000 amount that is still in a reserve that Mr. Cousineau keeps in case she wants other things done with her funds. So we kind of function as a trustee under that lease. We're recommending under this agreement that we reimburse her that amount because it's really her money at the end of the day. And then she would execute a bill of sale transferring ownership of it. I will tell you that we already have substantial interest in the hangar, and it's really functioned very much like a ground lease because she prepaid the vertical. Once we take ownership back, we put it on the market for a hangar rental, which obviously will be a very different rental situation. So Daryl and Wendy are teaming up to try to run some market comparables out there. Again, it's a very unique hangar, a very attractive hangar, but we do want to put it out through a competitive process to be fair to everybody, to look at proposals as to who the next tenant should be that we bring back to you with a new lease. So again, very bittersweet, but Judy's one of those once in a lifetime folks that you get to meet, and we wish her well and want to help her get through this. So our recommendation is to approve the form of these agreements.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve from Sanchez and a second from Supervisor Baca. Roll call, please.
Thank you. We have a motion by Member Sanchez and a second by Member Baca. Please state your votes for the record. Member Lilburn?
Yes.
Member Baca?
Baca Junior. Aye.
Member Sanchez?
Yes.
Member Navarro?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
And Member Canas?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7, approve the award of a professional services agreement. And Mark?
Thank you, Mayor. This project would award a engineering design contract to AECOM Technical Services in the amount of $254,718.95. And this would be to design the pavement section shown up on the screen behind you, which is an orange section. It's depicted in orange. It's approximately 400 feet long by 75 feet wide, and it's a failed section of ramp. So this pavement in particular, in addition to supporting aircraft, also accommodates the majority of heavy fuel trucks that transition the airfield to fuel various aircraft around the airport. So it gets a lot of use, and it has outlived its useful life. AECOM was selected through a process in accordance with FAA requirements for design engineering services. And this project would be grant funded by the FAA. They would fund 90% of the project cost, both in construction and for this contract in particular, which is for the design engineering of the project. Staff recommends the Commission support this project. Thank you.
Very good.
Question.
Dusty?
Could somebody explain why it takes $250,000 to design a little patch of runway? Or
Yeah, it's a great question. The FAA is very particular with the products that they pay for. And because of that, they have rigorous quality assurance and quality control processes that they require for anything that they're going to fund. So in this instance, all of the project designs goes through the rigors of the FAA. They review it, and they won't fund the construction unless they can lean on a very professional set of plans for the design.
the one-word answer is bureaucracy.
They're very consistent with their standards, yes.
Baca moves the item.
We have a motion from Baca and a second from Navarro.
Thank
Roll
you.
call, please.
Thank you. We have a motion by Member Baca and a second by Member Navarro. Please state your votes for the record. Member Lilburn?
Yes.
Member Baca?
Baca Junior, aye.
Member Sanchez?
Yes.
Member Navarro?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
And Member Canas?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 8 is to consider and discuss the SBD Good Neighbor Program for the third quarter, and we have Rosemary here. Welcome, Rosemary.
Thank you, Mayor Lilburn, Commissioners Mike and Mark. Glad to be back to report on the Good Neighbor Program. This is for the third quarter, which is July through September. So let's start with the fun stuff, all the wonderful promotions that we get to share with the community. Of course, for 5 years straight, we've been publishing the newsletter, and I have to hand it to Mark and Amber for their work in this consistency, because some organizations start newsletters and they sometimes stop them. They're a lot of work. So again, congratulations, 5 years straight, and we're currently working on fall now. Of course, ongoing promotion of our Breeze Airways service to Provo and San Francisco for summer and fall travel. And then it was great hearing the report from the concert. Sounds like it was a great night, so congrats to all. We definitely promoted that. And the airport team tabled at various events throughout the community during this quarter. And you see the photo here of Amber tabling at the Rim of the World High School, their career fair, and very much promoting STEM careers and how they apply to roles here at the airport, and really, engaging with that future pipeline of students where, we want to see them come and work either here at SBD specifically or in the industry generally. So you see Amber there with a drone, and, a lot of excitement around just these new developments in our industry. And again, celebrating 5 years of the Good Neighbor Program. It's a model program, and we're really excited that it continues, and the engagement that we have created with the community as a result of it. So getting into the numbers. So on average for the 3 months, we had 50 noise comments for each of the months. So in July, there were 51 comments filed by 19 households. In August, 52 noise comments filed by 14 households, and in September, 49 noise comments filed by 23 households. And as far as, I think I went too far. No, I always do this for some reason. Okay, totals and trends. I did this last time. Here we go, totals and trends. So yeah, we did have an increase in comments year over year, within the quarter, year over year. And let's get into what that looked like. In total, we had 152 comments from 45 distinct households. And you see those, a lot of those comments were concentrated in Highland, San Bernardino, Redlands, and Fontana. And of those 152 comments, 2/3 of them were filed by households in those 4 cities that I just mentioned. And here you see that breakout there, 101 comments of the total 152 by these 5 distinct households. Okay, and here you see the year over year, we had a 40% increase in comments, and we had 24 additional households filing comments in the quarter, again, year over year. Here is how the numbers break out. You see for the aircraft category. Almost 1/2 of the reports were about jet activity. In the middle, more than 1/2 of the comments were neighbors concerned about aircraft operations in the vicinity of their home. And then for filing method, 2/3 of the comments were shared via the online form, and then of course the other 1/3 with a noise comment hotline. And here's that same information, table format, and then the pie chart showing that 20% of commenters did request to be contacted by the airport about their specific concern. And again, the airport team absolutely reaches back out to the community and tries to connect with them to address whatever question or comment they may have. And here you see that the majority of comments come from within 5 to 10 miles of the airport, those 2 big circles there indicating that. And then wrapping it up, we did have an increase in comments year-over-year and quarter-over-quarter, as well as increases in the number of households filing comments during those periods. So again, a model program. Mark just spoke to NBAA. I think that was last week. Mark, you went to National Aviation Business Association, their annual conference, talking about this model program here amongst U.S. airports. So again, it's a model program, 5 years celebrating it, and it's just another important tool to communicate, provide two-way communications with the community, with pilots to educate, inform, and engage about aircraft operations, developments here at the airport, noise sensitivity in neighbors, and again, continues 5 years later. So fun to be with you all here. I can't believe we've been doing this for 5 years together, so many of us still here. So, okay, that's all I have. Thank you very much, and I'll take any questions or comments you have.
I have a comment for you, Rosemary. I did, so because Highland receives the majority of the comments, had the opportunity to send a letter to the FAA regarding, but what I want the people to know is that the FAA regulates the airspace, and we have a flight pattern. But I did send the FAA a concern about the amount of requests and the flight pattern, and so we did get a little bit of some give with the FAA that the altitude with the planes can fly higher coming in, but there's only so much space, within that. So I'm not giving up on them. They were very responsive, so we'll continue to work with the FAA on the flight pattern and the concerns of the Highland residents.
Good. I'm glad you're able to connect directly with them and also get a response from the FAA too.
Okay,
It's really good news.
good.
Yeah, Madam Chair, and maybe Mike, you can share with the general public. Rosemary, I appreciate your report, but maybe you can share with the general public, what staff and this board is trying to do to try to alleviate that.
Yeah, happy to. Just take it in a little more detail. As the mayor indicates, the FAA regulates airspace. We, as an airport sponsor, do not. It is not our jurisdiction. But as an airport sponsor, we are able to communicate with the FAA on a regular basis. And to the mayor's point, the regional office and the Los Angeles office has been fantastic to work with, very, very responsive on this issue, and are taking, obviously, the situation and the opportunity to look at options to align that space. It's been an iterative process over time. And they're constantly looking at new ways to handle aircraft out there. So, Mark, I would let you kind of go a little bit further on that. As if you go to the Good Neighbor Program website, which we encourage everybody to do, we've got some really good informational, educational tools on that website, which actually show, for instance, videos of the flight paths themselves, the flight procedures, and kind of the how and why of what's happening in the airspace. But Mark, anything else you'd like to add?
I think the only other thing I would add is that there are some constraints in airspace locally around San Bernardino, whether that's terrain or other nearby airports, and the FAA's job is to ensure safety first and foremost for aircraft flying in the area, whether it's SBD or whether it's a related airspace region. And those are some of the considerations that they take very seriously and study very diligently. We're hopeful, like Mike had mentioned, and to support the mayor's letter, that they can utilize unoccupied space to help accommodate some of these flights. But I don't want to speak on behalf of the FAA, but I can tell you that they do take those issues very seriously and will work best they can to try to solve for them.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
Madam Chair, comment?
Yes,
Rosemary, thank you very much for your report.
Sure.
Celebrating 5 years, congratulations.
I know, isn't it wonderful? Wow.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
Time
that's
flies
great.
while we're,
And I know that
building.
I know that the people that live in the area that get the reports from you are very appreciative of the information that they're getting.
good.
And I just hope that they continue to realize that we don't control the airspace,
Right.
the FAA does. And we have
Right.
to be respectful of that.
Absolutely. We're all partners in this. Providing the service, aviation is an important service, but focused on safety, number one, is the
Thank you for
priority.
a good job for 5 years.
I know, we're really thrilled about
And I'm
meeting
glad
that
to see Holton's
milestone.
not on the list. Right, John?
And I think it's just the fact that Mark was able to report out at that NBA conference just last month, just 5 years later, just how far this program has come along, and just and again, just what other airports can do. I think you spoke with another airport who's done something very similar too, Mark. Good. Thank you all.
Thank you, Rosemary. Appreciate it. The fact is that people are actually using it and making use out of it. So thank you so much. Okay, we're going to go on to item 9, and this is we're going to conduct a business plan update workshop. And I'll let Mike kind of explain and lead us into this, or
Not that part. Not that one. Not that one. Bear with us 1 sec. Okay. Believe me, I am not going to make you read what's in your packet or let me talk about everything that's in your packet. This is a different presentation. So, again, hard to believe we're at the 5-year mark of a business plan, and it's staff's ready and able to get to work on the next 5 and 10-year outlook with you. Just to kick us off, a couple things here. We're going to change up kind of how we do this, so I'm not just sitting on my duff. We're actually actively participating and then garnering feedback from you, taking copious notes and looking at your direction and your vision for the future. So to kick us off, Bill Leonard used to tell me all the time, how do you eat an elephant? He'd say 1 bite at a time. And so we're going to not hopefully belabor you with too much, data dump here today, but really kind of touch on a snippet of where we are and a snapshot. To help kick us off, though, I want to introduce a really great partner of ours, Jim Lights, who serves as the executive director of our California Airports Council. He's been a longtime friend of this airport and hugely instrumental in shaping policy, particularly at the state level, as it comes to aviation. I'd like to have him come up, make a few remarks about the industry as a whole, and then we'll move from the general into the specific at SBD. So Jim, if you wouldn't mind, come on up.
All right, good evening. My name is Jim Lights, and I'm a partner in the public policy firm California Strategies. Very happy to be here with you this evening. Just very briefly, as we experienced COVID being shut in for 18, 24 months, airlines, of course, curtailed their service during that time. And as we came out of that in 2022, the majority of California airports experienced passenger volume records in 2022, 2023, and 2024. That has changed this year. The majority of airports have seen passenger volumes drop beginning in Q1 of this year. Not quite sure that there's a clear explanation other than a little bit of economic uncertainty among passengers and people just not booking as much. There may be some also impact of lower levels of business travel. International travel from Asia, China in particular, has not recovered from where it was in 2019. However, the airports that had a lot of China air service have recovered international service, mostly from Europe and some in Mexico from Californians that are increasingly traveling to Mexico for vacations. So it's a little bit of a situation that everyone wants to keep their eye on. Will that turn around later this year or going into next year? As far as the shutdown goes, most of our airports are unaffected by that. It was national news a couple of weeks ago, however, when Burbank suffered what they called ATC 0, that is no staff in the tower during one of the busier parts of the day in the early evening hours of a weekday. But that has not occurred since then. And so far, so good with the rest of the airports and ATC staffing as well as TSA staffing. So hopefully the shutdown will come to an end before too long, and we can not worry about those sorts of things. So I'll end there and happy to answer any questions you may have.
So we're not going to worry about them right now, but I'm hearing on the news perhaps so in the next week more will have more difficulty if the budget isn't passed. Do you foresee anything in the future in the next week?
As those federal employees begin to miss paychecks, then I think that's where the real unknowns are. The longer that goes on, the more difficult that will be for people to manage. And so I do think we're potentially entering a phase of the shutdown that becomes a little bit more precarious for the maintenance of staffing. You may have seen that, Newark Airport in particular, even before the shutdown, was suffering some staff problems. But thankfully, California airports have not seen that sort of thing occur as widely as it has at some other airports.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions for Jim on this? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Jim, don't leave. You got more to do. So I'm going to move down there and go through kind of SBD today. Okay, you think I know how to use this since I live here. So you got the PowerPoint? All right. So as I mentioned, I don't want to kill you with slides, so Mark and I have really, killed ourselves trying to make this as hopefully painless as possible. So go ahead. All right, so this is kind of just a rough overview of where we sit today. So the first ever strategic plan for these organizations was something that I started back in 2009. So one of the things when I came back from the private sector as, at that time, your deputy director, one of my preconditions to my boss was, I'll do it, but only if we have a strategic plan. Because for the better part of my earlier career here in these agencies, we had a lot of budgets, we had a lot of plans and projects, but we did not have a strategic plan. And having just come out of grad school, I wanted to use my degree. Scary thing. Why would you want to do that? So the guy that I spent a lot of time with is right there. That's Peter Drucker. And I spent a lot of time and a lot of money at his business school learning, I hope, how to do this. I'm a little rusty. It's been 5 years. But that plan was kind of like me, a little old school now, right? So a lot of paper, a lot of text, a lot of reports, and that kind of thing. And over the years, as we've come to these intervals, staff and I really looked at ways to really receive the direction, the vision from the commission and the board, and try to adapt that in a framework that is digestible, not just to you, but to staff and, at the end of the day, the public. This report, I dare say some of our younger staff would never recognize it. Number one, it's out of date, too. And it's Jillian's favorite PowerPoint template, right? She loves this gray. I don't know where I got the gray. Matches my hair now. But at any rate, so at each interval, we've tried to kind of adapt it. And in the last, I'll call them, 1.5 updates, we've moved kind of away from the old strategic plan framework into more of a business plan. Because as we'll talk about here in a sec, there's a lot of business that goes on here that doesn't happen in other places and other organizations the way it does here at SBD. So kind of guiding through the structure currently, this is a 2020 plan is set up this way. It's obviously the commission, it's your plan. So what you want to see in it is what we find a way to put in there and figure out the both financial, human capital, and other resources necessary to pull it off. On your dais, you'll see a bunch of these guys. So we've got a broader plan, and then what we do with your vision is adapt it to the resources that we can find and adapt with a timeline and a projection on when we tell ourselves, okay, this is when we can deliver it. Or when you say we need to have this by this date, we try to find a path to get it there and hit the mark. So with your update, you will see an updated version of all this based on the feedback we get from you in sessions like this. So just a reminder, we've got 2 business units in this current business plan. We have SBD proper, the airport, and then we have Luxair SBD, what we call the fixed base operator, or FBO. Below each of those, we have priorities for planning, for projects, for capital projects and programs on a 5-year and a 10-year basis. So when we complete something within the 5 years, we as your staff look, as we have Mr. Cousineau and the number crunchers look at, okay, what can we afford, where can we get grants? We try to go to that 10-year bucket and try to pull something up. Stuff happens along the way that we didn't anticipate, so we try to weave that in on annual look-backs at all of this. The action plan that you see all the time, sometimes too much, is a 6-month snapshot of what we're trying to chase to get to the broader picture. That's also why you don't see an action plan for the first time in a long time on this agenda, because we want to focus on looking to the future here. So that's nuts and bolts, but we'll move on into kind of the backdrop here. So as you guys know, we are a commercially certificated airport. Part 139 is what it is. That's what John gets to comply with every year, with a wonderful inspection and a whole lot of software and resources to make sure we stay safe and compliant. What that allows when we are compliant is we get grants. We're eligible for grants from the FAA. And most recently, during this last 5-year period, we actually rose in status and stature. And that's something that, in the eyes of the FAA, as far as not only activity, but the capacity that we've been able to aggregate here at the facility. So we are designated as a primary non-hub airport currently. We were not that during the last plan. So that puts us in a better position to get more grant dollars on a regular basis. So that capital planning that we have to do to make Jeff have something to do on a regular basis becomes a little easier, Jeff, a little bit. So as the airport sponsor, that's what this body becomes. We have to ensure compliance with a whole lot of stuff. Not just the 139 inspections, but ensuring that we're honoring all of the deed restrictions that came with that airport deed in 1999, as well as all of the grant assurances that say what we can and can't do as a commercially certificated airport. One of those big ones is that any money that is generated on the airport has to stay on the airport. So there's big time federal penalties for airports that spend money outside of the airport. That's a huge no-no with the FAA. It's called revenue diversion, and that's something that we as staff and obviously with audits and everything else are laser focused on. In a lot of cases for particularly smaller airports, it's one of those really easy mistakes to make when you're, say, a municipality with an airport, and you're looking at a normal city CIP, and you think, oh yeah, just throw an airport thing on there. Well, if you use airport money on it, and it's not on the airport, you're in big trouble. So that's stuff that we have to just be mindful of as your staff all the time. But you as elected officials on this body, it's an important term to just keep in mind. So the other thing is we also have a permit from the state, believe it or not. And it's an operating permit that we've got just after the FAA 139 certification comes with it. It deals with a lot of things like surfaces, so trees in the way of flight paths, things of that nature. They too have inspections on a regular basis. The other piece that comes with that is a thing called land use compatibility. And this is something we talk a lot about with your cities and the county and your general plans, is what stuff you guys from your land use authority powers want to put in proximity to the airport, particularly runway surfaces and active airfield areas and those types of things. So it actually is a huge body of stuff that Jim can tell you chapter and verse about, but it deals with the density of operations in proximity to an airport. So that's another added bit of red tape, but an important thing, because it really boils down to what should be common sense and what drives safety for the ongoing operation of the airport. We, from a business model standpoint, we're a public utility at the end of the day. All airports are, no matter what their level of traffic is or whatnot. From a cash flow, color money side, I get this question a lot. Oh, you get a bunch of property tax. No, we don't. Oh, you get TOT tax. No, we don't. You get sales tax. No, we don't. You get money from fuel taxes. I won't get you started on that. I'll save that one for later. No, we don't. We have to generate the revenue necessary through leases, through permits, through airport use fees, landing fees, operational charges, to literally pay for our own existence and our own operations. On the grant side, yeah, we get federal grants. We don't get really any state grants, do we? No. But we live and die by the resources that we can generate, which is why, in the current plan, I call them business units, because it operates like a business. Otherwise, it's not operating. So we got to be able to pay our bills. We got to be able to pay our staff, keep the lights on, do all the stuff that, in a lot of ways, a private sector operation would have to do. But on the flip side, we're a tax exempt public agency, special district, so we don't have to pay taxes. That's the upside with it. So the operational results of all of the stuff that we do and what comes and goes here at the airport get reported to FAA and you on a calendar year basis. So we have to do it in January of every year, and then Mark puts together a good summary report, tells you how we did, given the activity of and utilization of the airport. Fiscal results are, as you know, budget season, July to June. So every commercial airport, that has a situation like this, will have something close to that. But as far as operational, FAA wants it every year in June. So that's a very long-winded thing about airports. You guys know this stuff, but I put it up here because it is important to remind ourselves from time to time where we came from. So in 2009, when we were putting together the original strategic plan, we engaged Cal State San Bernardino to do an economic impact analysis on what the closure of Norton Air Force Base really meant. And growing up here, living here, working here, in the early stages of the base reuse effort, I thought I knew. This one surprises me even today when I look at it. So, 10,000 direct jobs lost overnight, 2,000 civilian, 8,000 military. That equated over to 15,000 jobs lost. In those 2009 dollars, you see it up there, $1.9 billion in lost economic output. Don't need to tell you guys, you could really taste it out there, how rough it was. Thankfully, we had a great team with the U.S. Air Force, to deal with environmental cleanup. In fact, the Air Force actually started the environmental cleanup early, in 1984. Before the base was even announced for closure, they were on it. So every year since the inception of the original strategic plan, I really challenge the team here to make sure that we're reporting out how we're doing on that job creation and retention. Because that's what Norton was. It was boots on the ground, people working here every single day, raising their families, going to the markets, supporting the economy. So you guys will remember Jillian does what I think is a really cool annual report story map now. So again, not one of these boring docs that sits on a shelf, but a living, breathing story map that the public can see on the website, in clear day, highlighting what we do on a year-over-year basis, including the job creation. So you see the 24 totals there. Don't need to belabor that. That's the tracking of it. So you see how we've done year over year over year. Obviously, I like the trend. It's going the right direction. We're trying to keep it that way. And that's why, a lot of discussion doesn't always happen when it comes to retention of business. You as elected officials deal with it all the time. But for, us as an airport sponsor, it's important to make sure that we're listening to our customers and our partners, not just our future customers and partners too. So that is that. This is the latest in-plan economic analysis that comes out of it. So you see the 18,693 jobs, the total output of $5 billion to the local economy. The thing I always point to is the sector growth. And so for the last 3 years, air transportation is held as our second fastest growing sector. When you saw the original reports in 2010, it would not make the top 10 list at all. Wasn't even there. Obviously the one above it is e-commerce. We all know that. That's a big part of our region. But air transportation, these are higher skilled positions, higher wage producing positions. And these are positions that tend to stay in the market for the long term. So we're pretty proud of that. So talking about our revenues, where we get our money, this is an important thing. So our airport lease revenue. So included in these numbers is licenses, those types of things that you see where we have an interim agreement for a parking lot on down to our long-term legacy, long-standing tenants that have been here at the airport. So we're seeing a good trend, generally upward there. The other revenues that we've got, landing fees, so that's also an indicator of activity. That's seen a nice jump. And when we talk about the industry segments and market segments here in a little bit, it correlates with the growth that you all have seen. When you look at fuel sales, being that you own and operate an FBO, thankfully, that's an important metric there. Obviously, with the growth and activity, obviously more fuel sales. This one gets into the gross profit, and that goes into how individual customers source their fuel and pay for their fuel. So that trend is impacted by a number of things that I won't bore you with tonight, but part of that has to do with also the cost of fuel and then the manner in which they procure the fuel. We get into third-party into plane. Mr. Cousineau touches on this in the financial reports and the budget. That's another upward trend metric, and it also ties back to a lot of the larger commercial carriers that we now have as steady operators and customers. We get into fuel flowage, again, upward trend going into 2024 year, and then capital grants. I want to spend a little second on this slide. So when we started the 2020 plan, obviously we were just getting our training wheels taken off in the scheduled air cargo market. That then qualified us for what's called entitlement grants. So the reason you see commercial airports like us chasing particularly air passenger activity and air cargo activity scheduled is because that is the formula that FAA uses to be able to base how much grant money you get. So how many tons of cargo you process in a given year, and how many passengers go through your airport. Enplaned passengers is what they call it. So that got us on, no pun intended, the radar of the FAA, and we are now able to source those what's called AIP entitlement dollars. It looks like we hit a downward trend in 2021, 2022. What was happening there as we got into the entitlement program is this is actually an iterative process that we go through every year with the FAA when it comes to capital planning. So it's not like your public works department and you tell them, hey, I need that, pothole to be top priority number one. We have to actually work with the FAA on the priority that they will fund, given the many parameters that they've got. But the beauty of that is when we see a big need out there collectively with FAA, they work with us and they allow us to roll money from one year to the next. So in 2023, we had a pretty substantial runway repair project and a number of other capital projects. FAA worked with us to build up resources to make sure those bigger projects could be done as a complete project. So there's a practical side of this thing too. But again, the number of passengers, the amount of tons of air cargo, that goes directly into a formula calculation that equates to how many grant dollars we get on a year-to-year basis. So that's one of the unique little quirks about the commercial airport side. I'm going to hand it over to Mark now, so I don't lose my voice, and we're going to talk about the operational side of the house. Mark? Things trying to fall off.
All right, that's a lot to keep up with. Hard act to follow, but these are the numbers behind the numbers. So when you're looking at those lease revenues, or if you're looking at landing fees, or if you're looking at fuel flowage fees, these are the numbers behind it that Mike is talking about that help generate that revenue. So for example, this is the total number of airplanes that take off or land from your airport. And the reason this one dates back to 2009 is that's the year that the control tower opened. So these are the numbers that the guys and gals up in the tower are recording and report out to the FAA and to the industry. And you'll notice an interesting little thing happened right around 2019, 2020. We were hitting a peak, and then we had a little bit of the COVID, if you will. So this last year was our snapback. There's a saying in the industry, if you've seen one airport, you've seen one airport. Jim talked about things dropping off in the passenger numbers earlier. But for us, 2024 was a strong year, and 2025 is going to be our record year with the way things are stacking up for SBD. So how do we compare nationally? So this is a graph of all of the control towers in the United States. There's two different forms of control towers. Some are staffed by the FAA, and others are staffed by what's called the Contract Tower Program, whereby the FAA has their contractor in the tower. We were very pleased to hit an activity level that brought us into that program, and that happened in 2021. So we no longer have to pay for the staff that is in the control tower. Happens to be serving us well right now in this unique moment with the government being shut down. The contractors in our tower remain because they're not FAA employees, they're not federal employees, they're contract employees. So we're very fortunate. But you can see this graph roughly models the total operations of the airport. So as we grow, San Bernardino is a little bit of a unique place in that there's been so much growth. Many airports are fairly stagnant. So as we grow, we tend to move up and down the rankings fairly quickly. So to break down some of those numbers, so this is one of the constituent elements of the overall operations on the airport. These are, the technical term is air taxi. It's kind of a weird moniker, but these are like your corporate or business jets. And this is one of our growth segments, and we'll dive into this a little bit deeper as we move through. But this is one that continues to rise rapidly. A lot of this is contributed to the success of your FBO, Luxair SBD, as they continue to attract and retain customers. One of our other growth markets has been commercial aviation, and you can see when the tower opened, there wasn't a lot of it. So this is something like a size of a 737 or like a Breeze size aircraft on up to a 747. Those are all included in these numbers regardless of what business market they're in. So whether this is passenger, whether it's cargo, whether it's U.S. Forest Service, those are all lumped into this number. And it's been a great growth market for us since really 2017, which is when UPS began operating on a daily basis at your airport. And speaking of that, so this is what cargo at San Bernardino looks like these days. It has grown a lot. UPS joined in 2015 for about 3 weeks. They did 12 flights. We were all over the moon, excited to have them for just that short period. And then 2016, they came back for the fourth quarter again. In 2017, they came and never left. FedEx joined as a tenant, as our first long-term based tenant in the air cargo segment, and they joined in 2018. Amazon began flying one flight a day in April of 2020, and has continued to grow their schedule as well. So you add the three largest air cargo carriers in the United States, and that meant that San Bernardino went from dead last in the industry of the 140 airports or so on a given year that provide dedicated air freighter carriers. San Bernardino went from dead last to number 25 in the country, which is a ranking that we're holding pretty steady at today. And this is our newest market, and we'll get into some of this a little bit more, but this is passenger enplanements. So this is how we stack up with the other commercial service airports in the country that have passenger service. You can see we grew a lot from 2022 to 2023 with more service, more people coming through your airport. That tailed off a little bit in 2024 as Breeze right-sized their operation for the market. So when they launched, they were doing 7 days a week. They pared that back to 4 days a week to get proper load factors. And this will be an interesting graph next year as it's continued to grow and succeed. So stay tuned on that one. International flights, Mike and I were both pretty excited in 2021 because for the first time we had at least one flight a day on average. We thought that was pretty cool. It's fairly low numbers currently, but we're excited for them. We're very pleased to be an international airport, and we're pleased to have our CBP personnel based here throughout the year, and you can see how that growth trend continues to rise. We took a little bit of a dip, but we're recovering and coming back. So these are the key business lines. Again, these are more the numbers behind the numbers. These are the business segments, and as they've grown, you can see the timeline on the bottom right there. It started with general aviation. Next business segment was MROs, and it grew to passenger service by 2022. Now, all of these business segments are important to the airport, and as they grow and collect, you can see how some of the names around the airport have also grown, and it's really a rising of all boats. So, whether it's general aviation, corporate aviation, maintenance organizations, air cargo, or passenger service, the more of those quality names we have on the airport, the greater the SBT message becomes. So this is a collection of our current based tenants at the airport. You can see they continue to grow, they continue to succeed, and they continue to build on each other. I always like to say that little pilots grow up and become big pilots. And the services that we provide at Luxair SBD are hopefully memorable. Someone might learn to fly, they might cut their teeth, they might get their license and fly through Luxair SBD where they get great service. Well, you know what? Someday that same person may come back and operate a big plane. And so we'd like to treat all of our customers the way that they should be treated. But those services build on each other. AeroPro provides services to carriers throughout the airport and well beyond. Same thing with the touch points for Amazon. Same thing with UPS and FedEx. You know, the impact of those operations extends beyond our AOA or John's AOA fence line. And so this is kind of where we stand today. If you summarize these different business segments, you know, early on it was maintenance, repair, and overhaul, which grew into our focus, which was corporate aviation and general aviation, particularly through Luxavera SBD. And then that grew into air cargo, which has grown quite rapidly. And now passenger service, which is a relatively new market, and one that continues to also gain a strong foothold at SBD. So those are the numbers behind the numbers, and I'd like to lateral it back to Mike. It's so weird, it's like we have legs. They never see us with legs. This is weird.
All right, so also what occurred in 2020 is, again, you all let us update and roll out a new green energy element. A lot of airports have done this in a variety of ways. I'm really pleased with ours because, again, it's more business plan focused as opposed to, again, a huge stack of reports and technical jargon. So we've been able to get quite a bit done in the last 5 years in this space. Upgraded a lot of our fleet to either hybrid or all electric. We just finished and celebrated with SCE 130 EV chargers installed all throughout campus, all operational. We were one of the first airports to ever go through their Charge Ready program successfully. So they brought some of their executives out to tour the actual installations that, you know, Jeff and the team helped put in the ground, and now they're operating. So we've got ideas for new stuff. The UAS Center is a natural complement to a lot of the green energy technology. As you know, drones, you know, vertical lift aircraft are primarily electric or electric hydrogen. And then most recently, we're working on hopefully a really cool hydrogen opportunity that we hope to bring to you very, very soon with the development team that I think you're going to like. So we continue to work on this. Jeff and Miriam and I have internal discussions all week about, do we put the green energy into the business plan? Do we keep it as a separate adjunct? I mean, that'll be your decision when we get into chopping things up. Last but not least, we'd be remiss if we don't bring this back up. From time to time, our American Association of Airport Executives does sessions specific to you as commissioners. Because again, it's not your everyday board. And there's a lot of jargon, there's a lot of stuff involved in it. So we will continue to offer updates here. If any of you want to go to one of these commissioner onboarding sessions, they do a fantastic job. They offer them you know, throughout the year, but definitely wanted to highlight that. So if any of you are interested, please let me or Mark know, and we'll try to align a date to be able to put you through one of those, particularly in an area where it's convenient for you to do, or a time that we can do it. But that's one of the, I guess, the perks of being an airport commissioner is you get access to a lot of industry stuff should you want to have it. So this is just a recap of where we finished in 2020. So what I hope we can attain in this next update is something similar to where we landed in 2020. For staff, it's a real challenge to have 10 priorities in, you know, each business unit. I really try, at least on our team, to focus on doing a few things really well. And that makes us a lot more effective and hopefully more efficient that way. So just going through the focal areas that we have in the current plan. So at that time, air cargo was a big thing, new thing for us. Retaining that, looking at creative ways to expand that, I think is something we've, obviously with that market segment data, you know, been relatively successful with. You'll see in there a familiar term, CBP officers. We continue that quest, as you all know all too well, because with that additional staff, guess what? That opens up more international flights, particularly scheduled flights or scheduled cargo flights. Everything loops around that. So we've got obviously more work to do on that where we sit today. As far as Luxavere, the growth continues. Part of that was your strategic investment as a commission, allowing us to do our first ever revenue bond to build a 300,000 gallon brand new tank to be able to support the growth that we're trying to bring. So, you know, I think those two, we've got a relatively decent foothold in where we sit today. What I'm going to end on is the next step, and that's where you all come in. So I'm going to have Jim come up, kind of gauge some interest and feedback from you. From my perspective, this is volume number 1 for a reason. So we'll, as your staff, do as many of these in whatever format you would like to have to kind of help shape your vision. And we're happy to receive your feedback however you want to get it to us. But I do want Jim to come up as our facilitator and then have some final comments with you.
Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but this update on this plan was to kind of replace an all-day event, but
Yep.
just feed us this in pieces, so we aren't taking, we're not digesting all of it at the same time. That we get fed and in pieces, so we can actually focus on it. And you know, I kind of like the idea.
Yeah, no, that's the idea. I mean, I'm on boards as well, and I prefer having focused sessions so you can really get into the details should you want it. But yeah, if you don't mind, I'd like Jim to say a few words here to wrap us up, and then take your feedback on where to go next. Okay?
Great, thank you.
Jim?
All right, thank you, Mike. A lot of good information there. You know, the last 7-8 years, cargo has really driven the growth of the airport. And certainly now in the last several years, you've added passenger activity to the airport revenue stream. And I think one of the questions I wanted to ask is, what's probably the easiest, the most actionable area where you could continue to grow the airport revenue stream? Is it continuing to enhance cargo capacity? Is it seeing the passenger side grow, bringing Hollywood in and having them film more movies at hangars? But wanted to ask your thoughts about where some of the continued low-hanging fruit may be for further airport growth.
Well, I think as a commission, we rely on the staff a lot on what is available. So we know passenger is obviously available per the gates, but I think and I don't want to speak for the entire commission, but I think our staff gives us direction on what's available as hangars become available. You talked about the filming, and because this is their day-to-day operations, and but I think passenger, we're always looking for additional passenger flights.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I can comment, I appreciate the report from all of staff. I guess I had a couple questions just in regards to the charts here. So like these first items, for example, on this chart 1 through 47, those ones are all either done or in the works?
They're either they're all done, or they never happened. And so that's one of the things that we need to garner, and Jeff and Mary in particular are taking first cut at that inventory and ticking off all the ones that are. That's something that we owe you as a follow-on, so you can see what's left. In addition, particularly on the airport side, because that FAA grant process is such a back and forth discussion in partnership with the FAA, we just have an updated 5-year plan from them that we've got to digest ourselves. That needs to get in here too. So there's still some homework. That's why we didn't want to throw the whole book at you.
Sure. So one of the things I would suggest is the ones that have been done or either in the works or in the hopper, at some point in time remove those and then look at the ones. It sounds like based on the comments that FAA is willing to work with you, and they really are willing to give you what you need based on the priorities, right?
Most days. I mean, it does take a little back and forth on a certain project, but Mark has a great rapport, Jonathan as well, so we tend to get there eventually.
Sure. So I think we should also look at those lists, which ones are the priorities, which are the ones we need to push as FAA. And then regards to the local or other funds, so the ones in blue are eligible for FAA money, right?
FAA or, in our case, Department of Commerce, that's been another kind of gap funding mechanism. Just in this last 5 years, we've opened up potential DOT, for things that, don't necessarily have wings on it, but still could come through a federal grant. So those are the ones that Miriam particularly is constantly, tracking, gauging. And now with the green energy space, there's a whole nother bevy of grants, now AQMD included, that could come to bear on this. So,
sure, I would almost even separate those, and the others are local other funds. How is that one funded?
So that one is where we could partner with one of your organizations. So for years, since the inception of the strategic plan process, we've looked at co-applications on grants or collaborative projects with any of your member organizations. You'll see probably in the last 5-year plan, there's been a lot of that, particularly with the city of Highland, given our proximity with a lot of the roadway stuff, where we might be able to partner on a grant, split the local match, or work with an organization like San Manuel, who has been a fantastic partner in driving growth here.
Okay, and I think almost those ones should be separated. The ones we can get money through FAA and through local, then we begin to prioritize, hey, these top 10 or top 5 we want to go. As we mentioned before, we can't bite the whole apple. As you mentioned, we can't eat the elephant in one day. I mean, I would even call this, SBD 2040. What do we want it to look like 15 years down the line, and just begin to chip away at these things? I think we need to also talk about, we have some on-site improvements and things that SBD can do, but I think we also need to have the broader conversation of what off-site improvements would we like to see to this airport, and really create a vision for this airport and look 20 years down the line, even beyond our time on the board. I think that is just so critical. So this will set the stage for generations of commissions to follow, but also have a great plan. I appreciate the fact that we've really become a big leader in cargo airport, top 25 in the country, which is a good sign. That's a sign of growth. It looks like we're just kind of teetering on the passenger flights. For me personally, I think international flights, I think there's a great opportunity here based on the market between the Riverside and San Bernardino counties. Also we need to look at more passenger flights. I know we have Breeze was kind of our tester, but also look beyond Breeze and what else can we bring here? And not just for revenue purposes, but also amenities for our residents, to give them an opportunity within the Inland Valley to support the airport. And we do it all the time as council members and elected officials. We bring amenities that are not going to save our cities or communities, but they provide amenities for our residents. So I think we really need to look bigger. And then I know that we've had conversations with Caltrans. I know you've had conversations with Caltrans for some off-site improvements and signage, but I really think we need to look bigger down the picture. And how can we really enhance this airport? What can we do to make it better? And start to tell us what we should be focused on as far as priorities. We can look at revenue, which is one thing. Do we want our airport to look good? Is that important for us, the look of our airport? I know there's some property here, even on site, that is, property of the city of San Bernardino, the recreation center. Is there an opportunity there to build something there? I don't know. What more opportunities do we have to develop within the airport facility? I think we have to look beyond just, what we have here. But I think this is a good start, a good beginning discussion, but I would like to see the priority list of, I'm not an airport expert, so I couldn't tell you which one we need now or tomorrow. But laying out those priorities, any off-site improvements, if we need to have conversations with our surrounding cities and say, hey, this is where we could use your help to really enhance this airport. But that's just my thoughts. But I think international flights is really a golden opportunity for us here. But I think we're headed in the right direction, but I think we can have a little more vision going forward.
Thanks, appreciate that.
So if I could build on that notion, Mike mentioned the board's past approval of the revenue bond, which allowed for the large fuel tank, which put you in a position to grow the service here. What would some of the next infrastructure, and I think you just asked this question, Supervisor Baca, what are some of the next infrastructure projects that may need to take place to allow for that longer term growth?
Well, I've got to say, given the immense support from our boards over the years to be able to advance fund a lot of really difficult infrastructure improvements, particularly the terminals, the executive terminal, the international terminal, and the domestic terminal. We're in a really good position. So a lot of the heavy lift items are done. But to the supervisor's point, there are near-term opportunities to do what comparatively is a small thing, but that has a real impact on the customer experience overall. And I think we've got a laundry list as staff of stuff we can rise to the top on this. As far as infrastructure goes, FAA's focus for the next several years, as you'll see in the 5-year, is pavement, 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 airfield pavement. Not real sexy for folks outside the fence, but really important to the flying public. Their focus is going to be smack dab right on that. And I think the other one is where we can supplement on the international opportunity, since we're begging and pleading to get more customs officers here, looking at the on-airport facilities for international cargo handling, to be able to expand our bonded warehouse capability, to be able to then continue the momentum to realign our foreign trade zone designations around our core existing customers. That continued sort of equilibrium there with the support of the commission, that's where the staff and I are currently. But thankfully, it's not an ask, give us $150 million to build a domestic terminal and make it 9/11 TSA compliant. You guys have done that. Thank you. We now need to get the finer points in there, given the market penetration that we've got now. So that's where my brain goes.
So what are some of the challenges, where you see growth opportunities and some of the things that you have to then overcome?
CBP would be one, as we've talked about a few times tonight.
Hangars. We have a lot of people out there who want hangars.
A lot of people want hangars, and victims of our own success,
Yes.
because we've filled up pretty much all of our hangars. It's a good problem to have. So particularly in the general aviation market, there is some capacity to add some additional product out there. And then, really, as you've seen with the advent of our air charter operations and the corporate jet side of life, with the addition of a loft, with Worldwide Wings, our flight school, and with executive jet maintenance, they know a lot of people. And, pilots talk to other pilots. And, there's folks that, like coming to SBD, and we need to be able to have assets to where they've got a place to do what they do best. I'd add to that on the just general comment of the experience coming in and out of the airport. Supervisor's been really great at getting us connected with folks to really create that experience to where you're coming to a commercial airport. Depending on how you get here, it may not smack you in the head that, hey, I'm getting close to San Bernardino International Airport, and some of those things we can put out there for you to consider. Not, again, huge money asks, particularly with support from other organizations that are jurisdictionally over that. But that's kind of the fine tuning that I think staff-wise we're looking at. But I'd let Mark touch on that. Mark, do you have any comments?
As far as challenges go, I think the supervisor's guidance is instructive. Partnering with outside organizations for the areas, to your earlier point, Mike, that the airport cannot spend money on, right? It would be illegal for us to do such a thing. But But the reality is, surrounding jurisdictions and their roadways and their access points and that experience is really it's really a collective experience. And we're bringing new people through, the roads of San Bernardino and Highland in the county. And those partnerships are key. So thanks for that advice there, Supervisor.
No, I appreciate it. And I appreciate your question. That kind of goes to the point, is generating revenue a high priority for us? That could be a high priority, so we can continue to make some more of these investments, whether it's cargo, number one, passenger, or anything else. But I think we really have to be very poignant in our investments and saying, hey, this is going to get us to where we need to be, and we take those small steps. And we realize this is not going to be done probably in our lifetime, but at least if we begin to continue to head down this direction, and if staff could help kind of lay it out for us, say, hey, these are our priorities, this is going to do A, B, and C, and then we can all support it, and then also say, hey, surrounding agencies, whether it's the county or any of our surrounding cities, this is where we could need help, which would be beneficial to the overall, as you mentioned, experience to the airport. Then we begin to lay that out. We put a roadmap out there. Hey, this is our plan. We may not get there right away, and it may take time for some of these cities to and make these type of investments, but at least it's out there and those conversations are had. But I think that's just so critical as we look at moving this airport forward. I'm excited. I'm excited about the growth and the great things we're doing here, and look forward to more success.
Well, Commissioners, as a recovering real estate broker, you will never hear from me that revenue is not a priority. Not going to happen. We need it.
So, and just to mention this, that use your elected officials when you need us, because we have projects going on, a joint project going on at the top of Victoria with the off-ramp to, navigate us into the airport or Yamava. And we met with our senator a couple weeks ago, and she's very interested in how she can help, what we need at the airport. So make sure you use our supervisors and his contacts and our senators and so on and so forth. And also, keep in mind we have Above and Beyond project coming, and those are things that are going to generate synergy as well. So I think you're doing a great job. I think, it's one day at a time, but the vision that you guys have had and the support that the commission gives, I think the airport's doing a fine job.
Jim, I was waiting for them to say, you need to have your lobbyists work harder and give you more money.
Well, I was going to add, there are times where a state legislator will submit a letter of support to include in a grant application packet. And wherever there may be, it may make sense to ask your local, your state elected folks to do that. We'd be certainly happy to follow up with them and obtain some of those letters if it would be helpful. So.
And Jim's a great resource for all of you too. So I mean, he has a lot of needy California airports at the California Airports Council. So he's used to hearing from elected officials.
I did have one question. It might be a little bit more granular than where we've been on this discussion, but fuel sales going well, fuel flowage, but profits had taken a dip. How big of a deal is that?
So that's a bit of a misnomer, because the gross profit gets calculated in one way for one type of fuel customer. The into-plane fee is the metric we use for another type of customer, because they procure their fuel through a different process. So that's almost a session within itself on fuel sales, but there's a lot of pieces to it. Because we support such a diverse customer base, we're dealing with everything from UPS and FedEx to Breeze on down to a general aviation pilot that's fueling up with a self-fuel credit card. So, and so the overall thing goes into gross fuel sales, but the actual cost of goods sold comes in a variety of pieces of that. So we'd almost need a session on fuel just to go through that.
And that would probably include the fact that the taxes on those fuel sales, which should be coming back to this airport and every airport, are not being allocated according to FAA rules, and that is a state-level issue that we've been working on for some time.
I left that for the end supervisor. You have no family history dealing with that issue, none.
Yeah,
And
so,
just to give Mike the background, my father introduced legislation to keep fuel tax local. And that's something that we're fighting for, as he mentioned. So thank you for the plug.
So we can add that to the challenges, Supervisor.
a
I'd
lot
add
of
one
money.
more challenge just for all of you, because it's something that we do as a staff, work really hard on, is making sure our systems are current and up to date, and that goes to our navigational aids. So that's a big priority. We're working constantly with the FAA to make sure SBD has the latest technology out there for the flying public. And that's an ongoing process. So I think when we come back with the smorgasbord, we'll definitely have that front and center for you to consider too.
okay. Any other thoughts, big picture about how? Yes.
Maybe you can. Maybe what you can do is you can break down where a lot of the operational resources go on the airport. As someone who's not at the airport every day, the four that come to mind are passenger flights, commercial or cargo, maintenance and repair, and the fourth is research and development and the drone. I mean, we have UAS over here, and I don't know if that's right or if there's other things that the airport does, but maybe breaking that down, that this is really our core of our business at the airport right now, but maybe we want to take from here and really focus in on this other category. Right now, the shiny one that I really want, that I've wanted since the first day I've been on this board, is more passenger flights. What built up this airport and what it's become a Goliath in, the business has become a Goliath is in cargo. And so I'd like to know from staff, hey, there's a room to grow in this sector, or we see weakness and we need to reinforce it with more resources and more energy, or hey, we're putting too much into passenger, we're not getting what we're putting into it, we need to pull back. But I see these four categories, and I want to know if there are more categories, if some of these categories aren't really materially exist at the airport, or
why.
Yeah, or why, and really see really for you guys to give us the priority list and say this is what the day-to-day operations look like, and this is where we need help, this is where we're fine, this is where we need to either grow or pull back.
Mike, can that be something on our next portion of this business plan workshop, the next snapshot, something like that, what the whys or the why nots?
I love the approach, and it's very easy for us to populate that. In a short answer, where all your resources were most recently focused was the concert, so we're happy to be on the other side of that.
Right?
Yeah.
No, right?
Close your ears on that one.
Cat's like, you're crazy, right?
Well, you've really developed a lot of diverse revenue streams. So many airports, it's all about the passengers, and cargo is somewhat secondary with a few exceptions. But I think here it's been, and partly by necessity, very creative in terms of how this can become a real revenue generating operation. I think the cargo success has allowed you to then push the passenger side. And as that grows, so will the airport and all of its fortunes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I do need to give a little shout out to our partners at Hillwood, because none of this airport stuff would have been possible if we didn't get Alliance California to the position it is, to allow us to make these investments in the airport itself.
I think we generated some great discussion. It's nice that we can do these in a snapshot pieces so we can walk away with a little something every time instead of a day-long event and we walk away saying we got to get out of here. We have meetings and looking at our phones the whole time. So it's nice to take this in pieces and do the snapshots and come away with some tangible items that we can work on or think about, and the whys or why nots, and that could be our next.
Yeah, great, and really appreciate the feedback. I mean, our job at this juncture with the business plan is to be sponges on this side.
Yeah.
So keep the comments coming, and we love homework. So we'll work with you all on your calendars on a follow-up workshop, and great comments. We appreciate it.
Any additional feedback? Really appreciate you coming. You guys did a great job on this. Just everything we're like sponges as well. So everything you feed us. There's some things that we probably didn't know about in here, and we have new commissioners, so some of us are older ones, but it's always great to get refreshed and hear about all the great things.
Please tell us, how you want to receive your information. At the end of the day, we want to shape this plan in a format that makes sense to you, but it's easy to digest. We use a lot of acronyms in this business, and we try to make it at least something we can communicate fairly simply.
So this was a format that we wanted to see if this was something that you were agreeable to. This one ran probably a little longer than we thought was going to, but it was very useful and a lot of good information.
I promise we won't rehash the 34 years of history again. You guys got it.
It was good. It was good. You did a good job. So.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and look forward to seeing how the discussion evolves.
Appreciate it. Okay. Any additional added or deferred items for today?
No items, Mayor.
Okay. Any open public comment?
No, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Any commissioner comments? Bucket?
Yeah, I do, Madam Chair. Just want to make an announcement. Yesterday, the Board of Supervisors unanimously voted 5-0 in a budget amendment this year to give this international airport $250,000. And this will be available early this year. And we're also looking at allocating next round or next mid-year budget another $250,000. And what I did with Mike, we sat down and went through a list of maybe 10 items, and we figured out what we could and couldn't fund. And we wanted to make sure that we could fully fund these projects. So just to give you an idea of what this $250,000 will fund. So we'll fund, one is a newly high-resolution digital video display board in the domestic terminal, which will feature not only county public service announcements, but community messages for the airport and available to the surrounding communities. And also will provide money for an interterminal pedestrian walkway upgrade. This will enhance the lighting and safety, but also give ADA accessibility and safety for our passengers. So this is a commitment the County of San Bernardino has made. I want to thank my staff. I know that we have Ken and Edwin in the audience who've been diligent about following up and following through in these items. And this is just the county doing our small part to try to make sure we invest in this airport. We want to see it succeed, and we want to continue to support any way we can. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Could you please convey our thank yous to the Board of Supervisors for their support for this, because this is fantastic
I am
news.
undoubtedly going to be passing around a big thank you card for all you to sign, so just stay ready. And again, thank you, Supervisor. We talked about revenue diversion, but we're happy to receive $250,000 from any of you all at any time and any day, so thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? I just want to say great job for the concert. You guys did a fantastic job again. I don't think you get enough credit, but it was a great job you did, and a super fantastic job. So with that, no more comments. We'll go ahead and adjourn. Thank you.